Mosaic Covenant is unconditional. It's not like the covenant I made with them in Sinai. Again, that's punctuated very, very clearly in Jeremiah. And the point is, it's not like the old one. It's not a conditional covenant. It's not based upon the actions of the people. It is based upon me, God says, and what I am going to do to them and for them. And they shall not teach everyone his fellow citizens and everyone his brother, saying, Know the Lord, for all will know me, from the least to the greatest of them. For I will be merciful to their iniquities, and I will remember their sins no more. Let me ask you something. As believers, do we still have the need to be taught? Is the law actually written on our hearts? Is it so much a part of us that we don't need to be told it anymore? Okay, so is the new covenant fully in effect even for us? And the answer is no. But we have seen the beginnings of it. We have experienced and tasted of it. We're not going to experience the fullness of it until Israel experiences the fullness of it, I believe. Then we will see that time come on this earth where people don't need to tell anyone about the greatness of God, about the law and the requirements of God, because it will be clearly written there in their hearts. So again, the new covenant is a better covenant because it will not be communicated through the agency of frail people. Remember the problem with the old covenant? You had frail high priests. You had stuff that had to be communicated. People might not have communicated well. People might not have listened well, but God is doing this directly. He's saying no one's going to have to teach anymore because God is going to do it. I'm going to do it, God says, and put it directly in their hearts and in their minds so that they'll know. There's no middleman, literally, to get in the way of what God is going to do. Finally, he says, when he said, this is the writer of Hebrews, when he said a new covenant, he has made the first obsolete, but whatever is becoming obsolete and growing old is ready to disappear. We have to spend a couple of minutes here. Because you read the law itself, and you read the Old Testament scriptures, and it says that the law is eternal. The law is holy and righteous and good. The law has purposes. It has the purpose of telling us who God is. It has the purpose of identifying Israel and maintaining their separate identity. It has the purpose of pointing out our sinfulness and our frailty and how much we fall short. But it was never a source of righteousness. See, the point is, as a source of righteousness, it doesn't cut it. It has never cut it. And that's why it says it's going to be obsolete. It's obsolete. Listen to this. If you have an 8-track tape, what are you going to do with it? They're not making 8-track tape players anymore. Once they're all gone, there's no sense in holding on to the 8-track tape. The law, huh? A typewriter, yeah. My mom actually still has a typewriter.
Wow.
True story. Smith Corona. I'm thinking about going on Antique Roadshow with it and see what happens. But listen, the problem has never been the law, right? The problem has always been with us. What the writer of Hebrews is saying is it's obsolete, not because there's a problem with the law, not that the law is going to cease to continue to be a representation of who God is, an identification of the Jewish people, something that gets us to understand our sin. But as a means of righteousness, it could never cut it. No one could ever be righteous. No one could ever fulfill righteousness through the law. So it was going to be taken out of the picture. And listen, shortly after this book was written, what happened? The temple was destroyed. That's what this is alluding to. It's not saying that the law is bad, we need to move it out of the way. But he's saying, listen, the law hasn't worked for making people righteous or confirming people as righteous. So God was purposely going to do something to take it out of the picture because something greater had come. And so the temple was destroyed. And listen to me. If you read the law very, very clearly and very, very plainly, it's all about the temple worship. If you take the temple worship out of the law, do you still have any possibility whatsoever of keeping the law?
No.
It's impossible because it surrounds the temple worship. I know that there are some people who talk about desiring to keep the law, and there are aspects of the law that if we chose to, we could still follow. But the problem within Judaism, traditional Judaism today, is that they've changed the law to be something that exists without a temple. And people, believers, have jumped on that bandwagon.
Yeah.
The law is not the law without the sacrifices. And you could say Yeshua fulfilled the sacrifices, but then it's not about the law anymore because Yeshua was never a priest according to the law. It's a different covenant. And we need to realize that. Listen, the law is holy and righteous, good. It will always be that way. But we need to put our faith and trust in what God has promised to do through the new covenant, through the Messiah, through his perfect sacrifice for us. We're going to continue on next week. I want to give us time to pray, but chew on that during the week until we get to next week again. Anything that we need to